All right, welcome back to Lab Champions, where we highlight individuals in the lab industry and have conversations about the lab world. My name is Max Dudenkov. I'm your host, and today we have Troy Evans with us. Troy, welcome to the show. Can you introduce yourself, kind of give us a little bit about your background and where you are now?
Sure. Yeah, Troy Evans here, owner of Industry Lab Diagnostic Partners. Been in the industry doing clinical lab work for almost 15 years now,
Hmm.
and got to this industry a unique way through a uh, professional football career. So probably a different background than most.
Yeah, I gotcha. So how did you, so just before we jumped on, you mentioned you played in the NFL for 10 years. How did you transition from, the football world to the lab world? That sounds like a unique transition.
Yeah, probably more natural than you'd think. I was originally in orthopedics
Okay.
for the obvious reasons, right? That sport comes with a lot of orthopedic injuries and setbacks. So I knew some pretty influential people in that arena,
Hmm.
um, and then got into diagnostic space just through good business practices, hard work in the orthopedic DME space,
Yeah.
and really liked diagnostics. I really liked where it sat in
Mhm.
the kind of the patient workflow, if you will, of treatment protocols. That just a little bit of more of like a tool to the provider, an ancillary tool, and not as much patient direct interaction, and really just fell in love with that.
Oh, that's awesome. So tell me a little bit about your lab, where it is, what kind of tests you guys run, who do you guys serve?
Yeah, so we have two different locations, one in Cincinnati, Ohio, and one in a small town in Illinois. Um, we have grew up in the toxicology space,
Hmm.
and really working with pain management providers that were affiliated with those orthopedic groups that I talked about before,
Hmm.
and really just kind of evolved with the ever changing landscape of diagnostics throughout that, and we're doing molecular diagnostic infectious disease testing via PCR.
Yeah.
We were one of the early adopters. I always say there's two different sides of that spectrum. There's pre-COVID and post-COVID.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, we were pre-COVID, so that
Yeah.
was interesting. A lot of education on the provider side and the different testing modality, but really primarily serve patients and clients, providers in the Midwest.
Okay.
And we define Midwest. It's that's vaguely defined, but um, basically Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Kentucky, and Michigan.
Gotcha. So I'm imagining you saw the early days of, toxicology, PCR, and then, like you said, during COVID, everyone jumped on the bandwagon. Everyone bought a Thermo Fisher, started running, PCR. And then,
Yeah.
2021, 2022, there was a lab on every corner. And then slowly they started closing down and kind of, closing up shop with everything going on. Talk to me a little bit about the landscape. So I'm imagining you've seen all the challenges over the last 15 years. Um, Talk to me right now what's going on with payer reimbursements, kind of how your lab is affected, and what do you think the outlook is for diagnostics, specifically molecular diagnostics, for the future?
Well, it's interesting. My position as leadership of our company is you always have to pay attention, and you have to read and be alerted of LCDs and NCDs, and you better have plans around those when you
Yeah.
start hearing the buzz. No pun intended there. Um, uh, and so we've always done a good job of that. Like I said, we were one of the PCR labs before it became vogue with COVID,
Yeah.
and that was because we felt like our providers, and this is still relevant today, in my opinion, were starving for a faster answer. When you have
Yeah.
all of these different, and you're a pharmacist by trade, when you have all these different um, initiatives and healthcare focuses, personalized medicine, faster outcomes, and the payers are pushing that, right?
Yeah.
And antibiotic stewardship, but yet the payers are only supporting an archaic methodology that may take up to 7 days with some labs for a complete answer for a provider to make a decision on a patient. Um, to me, those just don't add up, right? There's a big gap there, so that leads to empiric treatment and incorrect treatment, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely. Yeah.
not being able to use a diagnostic tool that's really accurate and really established now in terms of a science technology. um, and that's just sad. The people that are affected are the patients, actually, of course, the labs, with reimbursement cuts, with denials, with
Yeah.
clawbacks,
Yeah.
med necessity reviews. Kind of back to my, and I'm rambling a little bit, but it's a passionate topic of mine. Back
For
to
sure.
what
Yeah.
Yeah, back to what I said at the beginning, though, where I loved that we fit as this diagnostic tool that providers that go to an infinite number of years of schooling allow
Hmm.
them to do their job better. Now the payers are asking us to prove medical necessity for a patient. The truth of the matter is, I've never seen one, and I've never written an order for one.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so it's a wild ride. But to answer your question, I think you got to stay ahead of it. We're in the pharmacogenetics game, right? That which is
Yeah.
another awesome test and diagnostic tool that allows some of the same things we already talked about. And there's been a ton of change in that in the last 10 years, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, I think you got to stay on the front end, and I think you got to be educated.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So coming up on 30 seconds to a minute left here. Last closing thoughts. What are you bullish on for the next 5 years in the lab world, or kind of what's the vision of your lab? Which direction do you want to go in? Obviously, without giving away any secrets or anything. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think if you are a independent clinical reference lab like we are,
Hmm.
you better focus on some niche markets and or
Gotcha.
testing.
Yeah.
You have to have something that brings some uniqueness, both from a payer landscape and a marketability landscape.
Hmm.
And that's what we're doing as a lab as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah, totally agree. Yeah, I mean, everyone can run, PCR and do the same test, but what are you going to do to stand out and, find those niches, like you said?
Yeah.
Well, Troy, thank you so much, man. It was a pleasure to meet you and speak with you. And that's it for today. Thank you, everyone, for joining Lab Champions. Until next time.